It has started. Wow.
We don't get a fall break or a spring break now,
Yeah,
so
they announced yesterday that we don't get a spring break, but they're pushing back the start of the semester and then have like two random days, like in the middle of the week that we're getting off during the spring.
It's a Tuesday and a Wednesday so that they can make sure that
Yeah.
people aren't leaving for the weekend.
Oh my God.
And they've said, oh, you know, no assignments and tests that day, but we all know they're going to be the day before or the day after.
Yep.
They're gonna be the
yeah.
day before so that they can make sure that we attend. We had the same thing happen when we were abroad, where it was a holiday on a Thursday and then they had tests and quizzes on a Friday so that we actually had to come in.
That's just evil. That's cruel
Honestly,
and unusual punishment.
I'm just, I honestly didn't care as much about the news of like how we're going to be scheduled, but I'm trying to look for apartments because I'm working remote as well from Louisiana, and I'm trying to look for apartments, and I need to know if I should look for apartments because if we're going online, then
Then yeah. What part of
I said
Louisiana?
that they should have just held
oh, I'm
off o- on announcing it until after they knew what we were doing about like virtual stuff so that they could disappoint us all at once instead of breaking it up.
no, lead with the worst news of like getting rid of spring break and then be like, oh, and by the way, we're going online. And then people are going to be like, oh, well, I'm less disappointed. But, oh, but I'm from Baton Rouge. I'm living there right now.
Oh, LSU country.
Oh, yeah. LSU
Are
is not
are
doing too hot, nor are the Saints, but it's okay.
Go
This
Tigers.
Go Tigers. I kind of, at this point, the way this year is going, I'm like, I don't have much expectations. If they play, they play. It would be great if they won, but after Joe Burrow left, I doubt. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's but I've been watching. I just finished the fourth season on Netflix because you have to binge on Netflix. Y'all may not find it as funny as I do, but it's called Jack Whitehall Travels with My Father. And oh, I
I
see someone laughing.
yeah, I watched. I think I watched like an episode of it because one of my friends showed it to me, but I like Jack Whitehall. Like I saw him on a couple of other comedy shows. He's pretty funny.
And his dad is so deadpan dry. It's so like stuffy.
Yeah,
It
there's
cracks me up.
oh yeah, I think Netflix has you have to go looking, but there's some really funny comedy shows on Netflix.
Mhm.
Some of them are just really bad,
Yep.
but I think that's the case with everything on Netflix. Like you'll find some true gems on there, but the rest is just like, oh my goodness.
It's like regular television.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to mark my attendance.
Yeah, we know you came, Brittany. Miss you.
Hannah's like, yeah, we know you're here again.
No, we're happy you're here, Brittany. Okay, so we are starting something called Socializing with SWE, which is where we have another student organization come and share about their club to us. So we're gonna do that in the first 5 minutes. I know people are still kind of coming in, so we might wait like maybe 2 more minutes, and then we'll let Nesby speak a little bit about their club, and then we can get into announcements. Okay, well, it looks like not many people are filtering in right now, so we might as well get started. Katie, do you want to share the PowerPoint for Nesby? Well, and Yendo, you're free to go ahead and start talking if you'd like.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ayenda Bombs. I'm a fourth year chemical and biomolecular engineering major with a minor in computer science, and I have the privilege of serving as the president for the Georgia Tech Society of Black Engineers. So I know I have 5 minutes, so I'm going to kind of just give you guys very high level things as far as like what we do to service our community. Much like SWE, we kind of are that interface with Black students on campus. So this year, our goal is prided on being vocal. So that's visibility, opportunity, culture, academics, and leadership. And that stems out of I feel like I found my voice through Georgia Tech and like GTSBE, and I wanted our members to kind of find that. And we take that same approach when it comes to partnerships with other organizations and things like that. Is how can this help both of our organizations expand our visibility? Like, what type of opportunities does this provide? Like, what is the culture we're setting? And things like academics and self-explanatory. And then leadership development is like, for me, the next step, I think, in like your journey of college is how do you go from just being a student to now being a leader. So you can go to the next slide. So I think NES's mission is to increase the number of culturally responsible Black engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community. And two kind of key points there are being cultural responsible, and then Black engineers. So that kind of also harps on the humanity of our organization. We are not just people in like corporate people in suits just handing out jobs and resume workshops. We also do a lot of our programming around like things such as mental health or now that you're about to graduate, how can you prepare yourself? Just trying to do what we can to help members excel in all those types of their life and really be that source of kind of, I guess, home for people. I know some of our members are also a member of SWE, so you've probably also gotten a chance to hear about some of the things that we do. I know we partner on CNS with you all and things like that. So just try to have a diverse range of programming to really try to touch different facets. Next slide. So something that we have that's pretty cool is that we actually have a freshman component of GTSBE that you may or may not have heard of called Lambda Delta Rho, or LDR. So it's pretty much a separate board. Like they have their own president, their own treasurer, and it's pretty much a flow organization that we run through GTSBE. So they have their own money, they fundraise, they plan activities, and they mimic our board, but within their own capacities being freshmen. So it's a great way for them to kind of step in and get that experience while kind of still having that big brother, big sister, big little brother support from our end. And that's really a key. So this slide is really tailored to like freshmen. So if there are any freshmen on this call, feel free to look into LDR and GTSBE. Next slide. I'm trying to keep track of time. So things that they do that we also do is community service. And you can kind of click through the next couple, and fundraising, as you can see here, different types of way that they can raise money. So GTSBE, like SWE, we get corporate sponsorship, but LDR doesn't. So they have to figure out innovative ways to like raise money. And then we obviously try to supplement here and there to do what we can, but to kind of really give you that grassroots effort of like, okay, now you're in college. High school, maybe you probably fundraised before, but like it's different now. And like I said, just goes back to that leadership development. Next slide. So this is kind of different flyers that kind of just show how we touch on different things. So to the left, you see that we had a Super Smash Bros. Tournament. The turnout was great. I lost within the first round. I don't really, I don't really play Smash Bros. Like that, but me and my roommates have been practicing every day since then. So I'm gearing up if they do it again this year. They'll do like a movie night, all the way down to things such as facing your financial fears, touching on Women's History Month and study sessions. I had a chance to plan Black women in STEAM in February, and that was really nice to kind of help both showcase what great work is being done and just really trying to uplift the community and do what I can in my own role and with my privilege to kind of help support. Next slide. And scholarships is another thing. This is another picture from Black Women in STEAM. The event I just talked about. where we gave out 4 scholarships to different people on campus who attended the event. Usually we would give 2 out to high school students, but Georgia Tech changed its policies as far as like certain ages who can attend and things like that. So this past year, we just focused on college students, but trying to figure out a way to bring in that high school component, because that is something that's important to us, is how do we maintain the pipeline from middle school, high school, all the way to college, because a lot of times, to be very frank, like our opportunities that are put in front of us are not the same, right? We're not all told that we can all be engineers. We're not all told we can be mathematicians. So our job is to help like be that interface and be like, hey, you can do it. If you love a passion for math and science, like keep at it. There are people who look like you that when you get older, you can be just like, if not better than. So we do a lot of things with our PCI kids, which we call pre-collegiate initiative. So that I think the youngest age starts in 5th grade all the way up to high school. So we try to just do what we can. And then next slide, I think is just, yeah. So if you just want to stay up to date with our different activities going on, you can follow both LDR's page and GTSBE. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Our website is www.gtsb.org. So we post everything on there on our social media. If you ever just want to drop by an event, please feel free. I know we have a lot of events going on this week. We have even like a technical workshop happening tomorrow with DSC, which I also saw that Sweet's partner with DSC. So just try to do what we can to help our community, and just give back while also still being culturally aware and responsible. So with that, if anyone has any questions, like I said, feel free to reach out. But my name is Ayinda, and thank you. I hope I stayed on time.
Thank you, Anyanda. Yeah, if anyone's interested, please go and check out GTSBE. We have a lot of shared missions and like interests, so I think it's great if people are involved in both. But now we're gonna get into our, sorry, is this the, can you all see my screen? Okay. We're gonna get into the meeting announcements. So welcome everyone. If you don't know, my name's Hannah and I'm president of GT SWE this year, and this is probably our, I'm not even sure how many GBMs we've had now, but hopefully if you're new, you feel welcome. We have this attendance link so that we can keep track of your involvement in SWE, and you can get rewarded for it with our incentive program. So make sure you click on that. You should see engage if you log in, and there should be a blue bar at the bottom that says your attendance was recorded. So something new that we are kind of bringing back that we've done in previous years is recognizing involved SWE members. So it's called Sweetie of the Week, and we're just trying to help people feel a little more appreciated, especially now when we don't get to see each other in person. But this is a great way to just recognize people, and we already chose someone for this week. So just a little background. Whoever sees this will probably know who it is, but they're in electrical engineering first year from Chantilly, Virginia, part of the Georgia Tech Honors Program, our new Industry Connections Chair, and very enthusiastic and passionate about SWE. We already noticed this right from the get-go. So, drum roll, it is Caroline Dunning. So yeah, congrats. We really appreciate all your involvement in SWE already. Just, we've seen a lot of passion, and we're really excited for you in your new chair position. So we're trying to recognize a new member every single week. So we really encourage you to get involved in SWE, and hopefully have some fun with it as well. This is just a reminder. I won't go over this every single meeting, but since we're still kind of fresh into the year, for national SWE membership, which is different from GT SWE membership, you do have to pay, and that'll give you extra benefits. So you can apply to chair and exec positions, go to conferences, get scholarships, and also be part of our incentive program. So that's just over there. If you go on our website, you'll have a lot more information. But if you just want to be a Georgia Tech SWE member and not pay anything, that's totally fine. You just have to come out to our events, and you can find that information on our newsletter. So here's just the little guideline of how we keep track of points. But you can always look into that. If you go on our website, there's more information about that. But the cool part about points is the prizes that you get when you get involved. So if you can see that really cute sticker that was designed over the summer, basically anyone who's a SWE member can get that. But you can move up the levels and get a SWE jacket if you're in the top 10 most active members. And also, we are advocating for He for SWE, so having male allies that support our mission. So if you bring a guy to SWE meetings, you can get extra points with a maximum of 3 points per month. So you just have to fill out that tiny URL to get credit for that. So as I mentioned on our website, we have a resources page, and this is exclusive to our members. So if you come to our GBMs, you will find out about it. But we don't want to share this with anyone else because there are recorded videos and possible things that isn't open to the public. So if you go to that website, to the members resources page, you just have to put in that password, SWE_member, and then you can see recorded GBMs, membership points, and anything else we have there. Just a reminder also to join our Facebook community page. We don't use it a lot right now, but we mainly use Slack, but this is also still an option to get connected with people. And then, as I mentioned, we are most active on Slack and Instagram, so make sure you follow those to get reminders. Usually in Slack, we'll post a reminder about the event the day of in case, and we also have a link there to get to actually access the event, so make sure you're plugged in there. And I won't really go into depth here because I've talked about it before, but you can join our SWE Slack and change the notifications so that you don't miss any of our messages. And of course, our newsletter is sent out every week on Sundays, and it has all our events for that week in one place, so it's a bit easier to keep track of things. So make sure you fill that out if you haven't already and sign up for it, because it's a great way to stay up to date on all that we're doing. And then lastly, we have so many different ways to get involved, but you can also add SWE's Google Calendar to your own. So if you're more of a visual kind of person, you can see where it overlaps with your schedule, and that might be a bit easier for you. Okay, so community opportunities. Steely, do you want to talk about this?
Sure. So we have a mentorship program where younger members can get paired with a third or fourth year, just seeking any advice in terms of SWE, career advice, classes, whatever you're interested in. And the signups for our first round of pairing close this Wednesday. We probably will open up pairing again later in the semester and again in the spring, but for the first round, we are having them close on Wednesday. So definitely make sure to sign up if you're interested. And even if you didn't go to the mentorship kickoff, you can still sign up to be a mentor or mentee. And I will talk about this too. So next Tuesday, we are having a diversity and inclusion in the workplace panel. This is one of our first big He for SWE events, so definitely make sure you invite some of your friends because we do want to really have a really good turnout for our panelists. And if you do bring someone else, you can get an extra point. And we also will be having He for SWE stickers that we'll be giving out in the future. So definitely come, bring your friends. It'll be a great time.
Elise?
Hello, everybody. All right, we've got a couple of events coming up, professional companies-wise. First of all is Milwaukee Tools. That's this Thursday at 5 p.m. Please, please, please sign up. I will actually post or paste the link to RSVP in the Blue Jeans chat just to make it easy for you, and that's a Google Forms doc. Let me know if you guys have any questions, but they are very excited about this event, and so am I, because they've got some pretty cool topics they're presenting on. They're going to give some job opportunities and internship opportunities, as well as a bunch of tips about mastering the virtual job search world. Next slide, please. Okay, I think I've mentioned this before, but I always like to plug our resume booklet. We'd like to send our highest paying company sponsors a resume book of all of your resumes that they can look at for internships and job positions. And the link to submit your PDF or Word form is there. And this is a great and super easy way to get your resume out to a bunch of companies. I think there are about 20 or 30 that it will be reaching just by submitting it to this one form.
Next slide. And then the fall networking night. This is the first time I'm mentioning this, but for those of you who are new, this is one of our most popular events because it is a very intimate event. We have about 10, this year we have 7 because it's online, 7 companies come in and talk to 60 or 70 members. So that's about 7 to 10 members per one company, which is 2 reps. So as you can see, there's definitely a very close contact with these companies that are coming on to the fall networking night, which is online this year. So we have Goldman Sachs, Truist, Bell Tech, Aerospace Company, just to name a few, who will be attending. And I hope you guys sign up because I really enjoy this event and I hope that new people will see how awesome it is. We limit the RSVP form, but we can have a wait list. So if some people pull out, then you are still able to join later.
Hey everyone, so I'm going to talk really quick about background checks. I know you heard me talk about it last meeting, so I'll try to be pretty brief. But basically, if you want to volunteer with GT SWE, either on the community outreach side or the youth program side, you have to be background checked. It's required by Georgia Tech to be able to work with minors. And there's 2 parts to the background check. First, once you fill out that form, you'll have your background check done. Sorry, Hannah. And then also, there is the youth protection training, and that's a separate thing. And then Hannah, now you can go to the next slide. So I've been getting some questions about this, so I want to clarify it. Once you are submitted for your background check, you're going to have to fill out a background check survey so that Georgia Tech HR can go through and process your background check. This is what that email looks like. I know some people aren't completely prepared for it, and it looks like it could be sketchy, but I promise it's not. This is Georgia Tech's way of doing the background checks. So if you receive an email like this, you have 48 hours to fill it out before the link expires. If you think you've received this email and you didn't go ahead and fill this out, that's totally fine, but I'm going to need you to email me. You can see my email at the bottom of this page, just because I'm going to have to resubmit you for a background check because this is required to get your background check.
Cool. And then the last thing I want to plug, which I plug every meeting, but it's really important right now, is right now, especially with career fair season, there's a lot of opportunities coming our way that SWE has not planned or hosted ourselves, but other companies are hosting, and we want to make sure that you all are aware of them. So if you look, we have 3 different Evernote notebooks. Current opportunities is just like things for hackathons or scholarship opportunities. Professional is the one that's being bombarded right now with so many amazing info sessions and other job opportunities. So if you go to Evernote, you can see we update this very often, and you can see how there's a bunch of information about information sessions and panels, anything like that. So please make sure to check it out. The link is in the newsletter and also in these slides. So please make sure to check them out. There's so many opportunities, and we want to make sure that everyone can see them and take advantage. And just note that because there's so many, you might need to scroll a bit slowly so that you can see everything, because sometimes it might glitch a bit. So that's also just a quick note right there. So without further ado, our company of the week is International Paper. We're so excited to have them. They've been an amazing sponsor for SWE for so long. So, Brittany, did you want me to show this video?
Why don't you go ahead and show the video, and then I'll go to my presentation. That'd be great. This is just this is one of our young engineers talking about, it's 2 minutes, talking about his experience at International Paper.
I'm not sure if the audio is working. Is it working?
It is not working. I could never figure out how to get it to work in BlueJeans, so it may be that we just send the link out.
Would you rather just read the subtitles, or should we just watch it later?
Why don't we abandon, and you can just send the link out to your members. It's fine.
Okay.
And they can look at it if they want to. Perfect. Okay, and I'll go ahead and share my screen.
I posted the link in the chat window.
Thank you, Maya. Okay, where is? Oh, somehow, I apologize. We did all this testing and somehow my PowerPoint got closed. How that happened, I don't know. But luckily, okay, now I'll share my PowerPoint. Trying to go to presenter mode. Okay, can you see it now in presenter mode?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you can see it. Okay, and you can hear me. Very good. Okay, well, everybody, for those of you who I have not met, I'm Brittany Robinson. I'm a chemical engineer from Georgia Tech. Also on the phone today with me is Maya. Maya was a double E at Georgia Tech. And what we're going to do is I'm going to, and I've got my watch on so I can time, I'm going to take at most 10 minutes to talk about international papers. Sometimes I don't do this and everybody's like, okay, we don't know what you do, so please let us know what you do. But then we're going to talk about do's and don'ts during the job search and how to, some tips for how to navigate the job search now that we're in a pandemic and things are very different. Okay. So just so you know, International Paper, we have more than 50,000 employees. We are worldwide. The things that we make that touch your lives every day are things like cardboard boxes. Everybody's like, I don't use paper anymore. I'm like, I think you've ordered from Amazon lately. So cardboard boxes, industrial packaging is the chief of our revenue. But the other products that we are in are printing papers. So we're still printing things out of and using some printing papers, envelopes, those types of things. And then another product called Global Cellulose Fibers, and that's the absorbent material that's in diapers, feminine hygiene products, and adult incontinence products. So this is just a slide to show you that while International Paper, you don't see our name on the products that we make, we are making products that you depend on every day. One of the things that we're very proud of is our response to COVID and what our company has done to support our communities, protect our environment and safety, and also to protect our employees. We are deemed an essential business. We continue to run. We could not make packaging materials fast enough for our customers. As you probably know, people continue to do a lot more mail order, and so that business is very strong right now. All of the hires that we had from college recruiting, co-op interns or full-times, all of those job offers were honored. All of those individuals started and actually came to work at our facilities. And then again, we were very committed to our communities, making donations, especially around PPE and making sure we were getting life-saving necessities and other products to people during the pandemic. Just so you know, we have 26 integrated or 26 mills, 22 of which are integrated, meaning that long wood comes in and paper comes out. The other 4 are completely 100% recycle facilities. And just so you know, all of our facilities have some degree of recycled product. We're primarily in the Southeast. That's where pine trees grow. That's our crop. So our manufacturing locations are located close to where our crops grow. The IP way is that we will do the right things in the right ways for the right reasons all the time. We have to do this because we want to be one of the most successful, sustainable, and responsible companies in the world. And it is more about just sustainability is a big buzzword, as we all know. But sustainability and, practicing renewable products is essential to our business. It really has been at the heart of what we do all along, but it really has become more known now that we're all focused on sustainability and the products that we're using. Just so you know, this is a very busy slide, and I will be sending this presentation to your leaders to post, but we have what we call our Vision 2030 goals, and these are goals that go beyond what we're required to do legally or by regulatory requirements. These are things that we believe are important, not only to our business, but to make sure that the communities and where we live is taken care of. So it's around taking care of our forests, making sure our operations and our environmental footprint continues to decrease, supporting our communities and having specific targets around employee workforce. Our goal is to have 30% of our workforce to be women, and with 50% of that in salaried positions. And then, of course, around renewable solutions. Just so you know, benefits were very competitive. The two things that stand out after talking to our new hires are the fact that we do have a student loan repayment program, and the fact that when you're a full-time employee, your relocation is a lump sum. And evidently, this is very exciting because a lot of people can move a lot cheaper than what the lump sum is, so there's some extra money pocketed. Internships and co-op programs are also something that's very strong. Our company-wide, we've had 250 interns and co-ops is what we expect in 2020, the majority of those being at our manufacturing locations, being engineers. Our REACH program is for our full-time employees. And just so you know, we have hired almost 400 young engineers out of college in the past 3 years. If you've never seen a paper mill, it's a huge facility, up to, hundreds of acres. Everything is big at a paper mill. And just so you know, again, around sustainability, our process, it's really big, two big recycle loops. Wood comes in and paper comes out, but in between, we're doing everything we can to utilize all the products and all parts of the tree, and making sure that we're recycling our cooking chemicals to be able to use those again. Oh goodness, what's happened here? Okay, so this is just a picture of what that process is to give you some ideas of how big the machinery and equipment is at a paper mill. I love it because it's never the same day twice, and you get to see, you get to actually see something being produced, and when you make a change, you can see that impact immediately. Watching time. I know I'm flying because I want to go to the part that you really want to hear about. But whether you're a chemical, mechanical, or electrical engineer, there is a ton of things that you can do within a paper mill. It's kind of like a playground. We have all sorts of equipment, operations, challenges, everything on a double E, everything's under process control. We're energy self-sufficient. Our energy and what we burn for energy, most of it's coming from the tree. We're up to 65 to 80% using renewable fuels that are actually parts of the tree, either the material, the glue that was holding the wood fibers together, or the bark that was on the tree. So no matter what your degree is, if you're a mechanical, electrical, or chemical engineer, we have something to offer. And just so you know, our requirements are that someone has a minimum GPA at Georgia Tech of 2.8, that they have full permanent authorization to work in the U.S., and a desire to work in a high-paced manufacturing environment. Not everybody, is excited about the environment that we offer, but for those who do, we offer some great opportunities. So if you're interested, again, I'll be sending this to Elise to be posted, but you can, here's our QR code and the URL that you can sign up. So now to the heart of the presentation, but I did want to check, I didn't know if there were any questions at this point. Can I look at the chat to see if there are questions? How do I do that? Celia, I see your picture. I'm going to ask for help. Are there any questions that I need to address at this point?
There aren't any in the chat yet.
Okay.
You're good.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so today what I really want to talk to you about is, you know, it's a new world. We're for both employers, companies looking for great talent, and for people who are looking for jobs. So how do we navigate this? What are some tips? We've already done All Majors Career Fair. We've done the Women in Engineering Career Fair, the Double E Career Fair. We've had some interviews. What have we learned that now I can share with you to help you as you continue on this journey? Because I know there's still some colleges that have career fairs coming up. There'll still be lots of interviews. What are some tips and tricks? So I think, you know, the first question is, how has COVID impacted college recruiting? What is new for both the recruiter and for the candidate? We're learning all these new platforms. We're having to do things very differently. You know, that personal contact that we so enjoyed when we were at an event where we could simply come up and talk to a lot of different people is not there. So we're having to learn all these platforms. And believe me, I think I've experienced all sorts of connectivity issues. But making connections requires a concerted effort on both parts, both for us as a company to find candidates and as you as a candidate to find companies. It's not as simple as you can show up at, like, for example, the All Majors Career Fair, and you can kind of mill around and, you know, try to find, you know, companies and, you know, talk to them in a more, I don't want to say informal, but a more informal atmosphere. These platforms sometimes require you to sign up, to have a slot, or you have to really know something about the company to be interested to even sign up. So it's a little bit harder to make connections on both sides. And the employment opportunities overall may not be as, there may not be as many as there have been in recent years. This may be because employers are not hiring as many people. I know in our case, we're not having as many new candidates that we need. We've had a unprecedented, you know, acceptance rate for both co-ops and interns who are accepting full-time positions, and for those who are accepting to come back and do another internship or another co-op rotation. And so that, I mean, I think our full-time offers that we made, only 2 people didn't accept. That's pretty unheard of. I mean, it was a pretty crazy acceptance rate. So that's changing the landscape of what recruiters are looking for. And then also, you know, it's not always clear, and something that, you know, you need to ask is this opportunity going to be actually, you know, at the work location, or is it going to be virtual? Because those are 2 very different experiences. So there's a lot of differences. There's a lot of differences. So with all of this, then, what do you need to do? What does this mean for you? It really means for all the candidates, you need to be very open and very flexible. When it comes to companies, if somebody is hiring for your major, investigate that. All the companies that come to Georgia Tech to recruit are very well thought of. You may have never heard of them before. I know when I came and started working at the paper company, I'd never heard of them or considered it before. So be open and say, okay, they're hiring for my major. They're coming here to Georgia Tech. That means it's a good company. Let me investigate. So being more open and not just looking at companies where you know their name because, you know, it's a household. They're making a product that you know. So being open. Location is going to be critical. you're going to need to be a little bit more flexible. A lot of people, want to be near Atlanta or near home, or or only will look at one or two locations that a company has to offer. It's the law of probability in all of this. The more companies you talk to, the more locations you're open to. If you're doing a co-op or an internship, the more terms you're open to working, whether it be, a spring or a fall term, not just summer. All of those things can add up to a higher probability of success of getting that job, because you basically have just opened yourself up to more opportunities. And especially for candidates that maybe you're graduating and you have not had a experience or a job that opportunity that was relevant in your field. Maybe you didn't have an internship or didn't have a co-op. Maybe that was something that we were supposed to do last summer. Maybe it fell through due to COVID. And so you're looking to graduate and maybe you don't have a lot of relevant work experience. It may be that a company will say, you know what we'd like to do upon graduation is offer you an internship, give you that opportunity to kind of get your foot in the door, but we'll turn that into a full-time job if you perform and do well. And we think there's a match. So be open to that. That could be a possibility. But the biggest thing is there's going to have to be, a good amount of initiative that you take in order to get your foot in the door and to make a good impression. We always say it's very easy in the virtual world to, wear your sweats, have your hair in a ponytail, just gotten out of the shower, all these things. For an interview, that's probably not appropriate. I've had a couple of people in interviews where I'm like, did they just get out of the shower, or what's going on? And so, taking a little bit of effort to look neat, and look like you put some effort into your appearance, still very important. Be in a location with minimal disruptions. I have had some interviews where roommates are walking back and forth behind the candidate, and I'm okay with it. I mean, I can deal with that, but you could tell that the candidate was very distracted by that activity behind them. And then don't be multitasking. I can tell when somebody's texting on their phone in the middle of an interview. Don't do that. But I do want to talk about phone and texting a little bit here, because these seem like simple things, but it's amazing to me. And most of these things, this is not COVID related. It happens every year. Set up your voicemail box. I cannot stress this enough. Allow someone to leave you a message. I have called at least 3 students already in the past week who did not have voicemails set up. So have your voicemail set up so you can actually leave a message. Only answer your phone if you can talk. It's fine if you're screening, because it is an election year. I know we're getting all sorts of calls and texts and craziness. But if you're not prepared to talk to a recruiter and it's a number you don't know, or if you know it's the recruiter, don't answer your phone. Let them leave a message. Again, it is very off-putting to a recruiter when, basically, we know sometimes we're cold calling, and you may not be able to have a long conversation at that point, but don't say immediately, I'm really busy, I can't talk to you, this isn't a good time. Well, if it's not a good time, then don't answer your phone. Make sure that you're being polite, and because again, it's an impression. If you do get a message from a recruiter, if you weren't available when they called or texted, be very prompt in returning that message. I know a lot of us, talking to other recruiters, we're on some tight timelines on our end. And I've had people miss opportunities to set up interviews because they've delayed a couple of days to call me back. And we've already interviewed and we've moved on. So don't miss that opportunity simply because you don't make a call back. And then texting. Just be mindful of what you're texting. I have definitely used text to get in touch with candidates this year, and it can be a great tool. And I know I'm older, and the generation that's at college right now, texting is a lot more prevalent. But make sure you're not sending interesting emojis or GIFs or any of these things to a recruiter. You want to keep it professional, even though you're still texting. Okay. So I'm going to pause here for a moment. Celia, you're going to be my moderator again. Any questions yet?
There aren't any yet, but let's give people maybe a second. See.
Okay.
Wait, I actually have a question. If a recruiter messages you an emoji, like with emojis and everything, then is it
recruiter
okay?
messages you with emojis?
Yeah. We'll just say if it happens. I know that it's happened to some of my friends.
I think I would still just respond in a professional manner. I mean, keep it professional. Don't emoji and GIF or, I mean, am I even saying that right? Is it GIF?
That's debatable, but
Okay, well, whatever, I mean, so, but all these things, I'd still keep it professional. That shows a level of maturity and professionalism that, I think is important.
Okay. No other questions have popped up in the chat, so.
Okay, thanks, Celie. Okay, well, I'm going to move on here and let me watch my time. Okay, so we're going to talk about some do's and don'ts around resumes, career fairs, interviews, that type of stuff. We're in the home stretch now. You can hang on because I know it's hard to listen to one person for a while. So on your resume, I always tell people when I look at your resume, I do not want to be participating in a scavenger hunt. I should be able to find your major, your GPA, when you're graduating, your work experience should be blocked together, your involvement in any type of activity should be blocked together. It should be very easy for me to find everything. I have looked at resumes before that were written kind of like an essay. Don't do that. Write them in bullet points. Make sure your resume is one page. If you get into 2 pages, a lot of times the recruiters are just looking at that 1 page and move on. I know that with COVID, it's a little bit different because everything's electronic right now. That's kind of saving people who have multi-page resumes. But you really, I mean, I've been working for 25 years and I can put everything that I've done on one page. So I know that someone looking for their first full-time job can also meet that goal. But use a lot of action words to describe what you did, measurable results, and put things on there that you're really proud of. Because guess what? A recruiter is probably going to ask you questions about what's on your resume. So you want to talk about things that you're really proud of, passionate about, because when that happens, you automatically light up and get excited and get engaged in the conversation. So make sure you've got those things on there that they're in a way that would be intriguing for someone to ask questions about them. Okay. So what you don't want to do is, we've talked about multi-pages. I've talked about the essay approach. Don't make it so that it's some sort of scavenger hunt to find your information. A lot of people ask about objectives. They're not necessary, and that's a Brittany Robinson opinion, especially if they really don't say anything. Now, if your objective is to get an internship in spring or summer of 2021, that's a great line. I know immediately what you're looking for. And you can leave it at that. You don't have to say, using all these skills, I just need to be able to get the vital piece of information to know what you're looking for. we definitely have seen resumes where there have been some vague descriptions where you can't really understand. Be clear again and highlight those accomplishments so that you communicate in a way that's actionable, measurable. So I would immediately know when I look at your resume what you've done and see the impact that you've had. Okay, at the career fair, it's a very interesting world. Again, I've said, if you have time and people have openings, because I know in Career Fair Plus, which is the platform for a lot of these career fairs, you have to sign up for a time. Sign up for a time, even if you're not sure what the company does. Do a little research, investigate, and sign up for a time. Make sure they're hiring for your major and the position you're looking for. But it's a great way to learn about something that you may never have thought you would have been interested in. But so don't cut yourself short. Keep yourself a lot of opportunities. Prepare that elevator speech. Have a brief introduction. If somebody says, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself, don't go into a 10-minute diatribe. Usually in these situations, the whole conversation is only allowed to be 10 minutes. So be able to, in about 30 seconds, 30, 45 seconds, be able to share who you are, what you're looking for, and why you're there. Be positive. I've definitely, and it's very clear when it's in person, but I've definitely been there and I'll be like, asking people, well, how are you doing today? And they're like, it's been a really tough day. I've had a hard time, da, da, da. Don't do that. Don't do that with a recruiter. Don't be Debbie Downer. Be excited. And then make sure you give yourself some breaks. I will say I worked all majors all day, and I don't know that I could ever smile again after the end of that day. But look at me, I'm smiling today. So, give yourself some breaks. Give yourself that headspace to kind of recharge, because you need to keep your energy up when you're talking to these employers, and so you're going to need to get yourself a little downtime. Don't get overwhelmed. This is a difficult process. Keep with it. Understand what the job qualifications are. And I've had people more in person, at in-person career fairs, who, when they don't meet the qualifications, try to start arguing with me about why they should still be considered. Remember, a lot of the people that come to career fairs are like me. I'm an engineer. I mean, my job every day is to do my engineering job. I'm coming as a representative of the company. The company has policies. I have no say in that. So, don't push back when there's not an opportunity there, because usually the person who has made the qualifications is not the person you're talking to. And then don't ever give up. I mean, you are Georgia Tech students. You are the cream of the crop. You have something to offer. Keep yourself positive, engaged, and keep moving forward. I mean, I continue to be amazed at the caliber of the candidates, and especially all of you that are in SWE. I'm amazed, and I thank you for all you do, because everybody thinks, because I went to Georgia Tech, that I am like as smart as y'all are and as accomplished. So thank you for helping me personally have a better reputation, just because y'all are amazing. So interviews, we do, and I can tell you, I've already violated one of the things that one of our recruiters told me. He's like, make sure to tell them to look at the camera. It can be very hard. I know right now I'm looking down half the time at my screen because the slide's down there, and that's where I'm looking at. And it's weird to look at your camera when you see the other person on the screen and you're wanting to look at them. So make sure that you're looking at the camera. It makes, and you can see down here, Alan even has a sticky note on his camera to say, look at me. So he will remember where to look when he's talking to somebody. So again, I talked about appearance, even though it's virtual. I mean, make sure you still got a nice, neat appearance for your interview. Show that you take it seriously, that it's important to you, that you put some effort in there into this. Because if you don't, if you aren't all neat and together, it makes the recruiter feel like, well, are they just doing this for practice? Are they really interested? What's the motivation? Do a little research. You don't have to do a lot to impress people. I'll be honest. Most of the time when people have researched the company, they're telling me things that I didn't even know. So make sure that you do a little bit of research. It really does pay off and shows, again, you had some interest. Answer the questions that you're asked. I know for our interviews, sometimes we have multi-part questions. And sometimes we have candidates that go round in circles, but in the end, they've never really answered the question in the parts. One thing that I saw a candidate do that I thought was just super impressive was when we had a question that had multiple parts, they took a moment and they wrote down over a little piece of paper. I mean, you could just see they wrote a little reminder to make sure, and then they went back and made sure that they answered all parts of the question. And what I could tell they were also doing, and they kind of confessed, which I also thought was this was skilled, but because of this, they were taking notes, and they kind of like were creating a database almost of questions that recruiters were asking, such that they could, for another interview, be prepared for that same type of question. Because if you're in these interviews, especially if they're behavior-based and not technical, you're going to get a lot of the same questions. So I thought that was very impressive. Don't be afraid to pause. Sometimes, if you need to take a moment to collect your thoughts, to have a good answer so you're not rambling, do that. Feel free to ask questions. And if you need a question rephrased, especially since it's all virtual, make sure you understand what the question is and ask questions of the company, of anything that you may want to know. And it may be about, the opportunities that are available. Why did that recruiter, choose to go with the company? I get asked a lot, you've been there a long time. Why are you still there? So, be sure to ask those questions. Especially the ones that are meaningful and are going to factor into your decision making. And remember to sell yourself. You are, again, amazing candidates. Make sure that you have not left anything, you don't leave anything on the table. Make sure they know how wonderful you are. And what's, there's not much to say that I haven't seen in an interview, but I mean, don't be late. Don't be negative. Don't be Debbie Downer. Even if you've had an experience that was not positive, I'm sure you learned something from it. Make sure that you spin it and put it in that light. And don't refuse to answer a question or just say, I'll pass. That's interesting. I've had that happen a few times. When somebody says, that's a really hard question, I think I'll just pass on that one. That you need to answer all the questions. Okay, always follow up. Again, it amazes me how many people do not send a follow-up. And in this day and age, I mean, it's easy to send that follow-up email to say, hey, thanks. Put something specific in there about your conversation, in order to let them know you're still very interested after that conversation you had in the interview and that you want to, continue in the process. And I always say, be persistent and be patient. Companies end up doing a lot of juggling. We go to more than one school, and so there's a lot going on. So make sure you keep in contact if you really have a special interest in that company. But, be patient and understanding that sometimes decisions don't happen, overnight. If you are very interested in a company, make sure that you let that company know of any deadlines you might have for other companies. If you don't, then they won't know what your timeline is. but don't give arbitrary deadlines. I've had that happen before, and don't be overly. Okay, so this is the last slide. So this is actually the funny one. So I have been recruiting ever since I left campus. When I started at the Savannah Mill, I started in July, and I was back on campus in September recruiting. So I have lots of good stories, but these are just a few. Okay. We do tell people for our industry that business casual is an acceptable mode to come to the interview, but that is not shorts, flip flops, and a wife beater. So, you know, don't do that. Not that anybody on this in here would do this. Okay, this actually happened to me in an interview. So. You may always hear that ladies should cross their ankles, not at their knees. The reason you do this is because your leg might fall asleep. And when I was at the end of my interview, it was about 45 minutes. I had crossed my legs. I had not switched that cross any time during the interview. My leg was dead asleep when I stood up. And I mean, I about collapsed because I basically had to hang on to the door jamb. If I was in front of you, you would see me act that out, but it was almost totally humiliating. So if you're ever in an in-person situation, cross your ankles, don't cross your legs. So you're probably, if you're in a behavior-based interview, you're going to be asked a question like, tell me about a time where you had, you were in the center of a conflict and how did you resolve that? Or when, at some point someone, two people, wanted two different things on your team and you had to, and you had to basically help negotiate, a truce or something like that. I've gotten this answer before. I try to avoid those situations, sit back and let someone else in the group resolve the issue or take the lead. That's really not going to win you any points. This actually happened more recently. We talk about, for example, in our industry, we talk about our work environment. We're heavy manufacturing. You basically wear your jeans and your t-shirt and your hard hat and your steel-toed boots, and you're out there and you're working with equipment and operators and being out in the mix. It's not being in a lab or being in an office doing design or in one of those clean environments. And so, we ask people, what, what interests you in being in that environment? And, the response was, well, I wouldn't find that environment a hindrance. That doesn't make me think that you really want to be. This was terrible. This was at Georgia Tech. This is what's terrible about it, but it's like 15 years ago. But one of the candidates asked my counterpart in the interview, who was a male, if he hooked up with many of the women from work. Probably not a good question. When people say there are no wrong questions or no bad questions, that's a bad question. Then this last one is about making sure that you're in a professional setting. Do not be going through the drive-through at McDonald's if you're on an interview, and then ask the recruiter to hold and not even put it on mute while you're placing your order. And then your environment, make sure you don't have the beer can pyramid behind you. That doesn't look professional either. So anyway, those are just a few tips and tricks based on our experience. And at this point, I'll stop sharing. Okay, let's see. We have a question from Ms. Pena. As a freshman, my resume has some white space. Is that off-putting for a recruiter? No, it's not off-putting. When you're a freshman, you don't have a lot of experience. I think the things to do are to emphasize, skill sets and any types of experiences that you have that show leadership or your ability to work with people. So, you know, don't be upset if you've got some white space. That's perfectly fine, and you can kind of play with the font. The main thing is make sure it's still neat and you can find all the information you're wanting to find. Do you suggest writing a cover letter if a cover letter is optional? From Katie. I'll be honest, I rarely read them. You know, we get inundated with so much paperwork and resumes and everything, and I'm so focused on finding people's work experience that for me personally, that's, I mean, I read them, but it doesn't sway me one way or the other. But that's personally for me. Other companies, you know, where they call that out specifically, it may be that they're looking to see if anybody's going to go the extra mile. So if they call it out, probably go ahead and do one because maybe that's a test. I mean, I'm guessing. But if it's not out there, I wouldn't do it in general just because I know what our situation is, and that's just extra paper. Let's see, Elise, what are some odd tricks during an interview that really impress recruiters, such as the writing the question down tip? Oh. So what, and Maya, if you're still on, help me out here if you've seen anything that's been impressive.
Having some background information about the company. As Brittany has mentioned, you know, sometimes we hear things we did not know about our own company, and it's like, oh, well, thank you for knowing that. Okay, I'll write it down too, so I can talk about it as well. That's been good. Being positive is something that Brittany has mentioned, and it's very crucial, I think, especially right now. This pandemic is in some way an opportunity, depending on how you look at it. I understand that, but for some of us, it is possible to spend more time with our family by working and studying from home. At some point, you may get tired of that too. I understand that too. Nonetheless, it is an opportunity to spend more time with them or to hide in the closet away from them. Opportunity to not have to dress up a certain way for work, but to be more comfortable and wear whatever's proper for your work day or school day. Not have to go out in the bad weather to go to the class, right? Stay in the comfort of wherever you are. Also, just staying to the question that you mentioned right now, I'm trying not to deviate from that.
I think also, go ahead, Maya.
Right, being interactive with the interviewers, they are people too.
Yeah.
I mean, we are people too. So it's okay to ask us how our day is going, or just to start that human contact.
Yeah, and I think having a couple of good questions, you know, and they don't have to particularly be about the company, but something that maybe is a core value of yours that you're wondering how it translates to the company in general. You know, and it could be something, I mean, like, you know, I'm very active within my community. I think supporting the community where I live is very important, you know, to make sure that I'm supportive and making the world a better place. Maybe not say that, that sounds a little too hokey, but, you know, could you tell me, you know, in what ways your company, you know, is involved in the community and tries to make sure that those things, you know, that you take care of the communities where you work and live. Let's see. What tips would you give someone who doesn't have as much technical experience within the area they're interviewing in? Okay, I think the main thing is we all have to start somewhere, and interviewers know that. And they're not going to try to drill somebody who, I mean, you know, I've been interviewing some freshmen this year, and of course, they don't have, you know, they've had like 2 weeks of experience even at Georgia Tech. And so really it's about pulling from your experiences and showing how you've been a leader, have good decision making, how you're motivated, a self-starter. So, I mean, even if you're a freshman, I'm positive because you got into Georgia Tech, you were probably in some sort of organization in high school. You were probably a leader within that organization. There were probably projects that you had to do in school or community service that you did where you had to be proactive and a self-starter. So it's really about thinking, what experiences do I have that show that I'm driven, a self-starter, a leader, a team player, and having those in your mind so when you're answering the questions, you can pull on those experiences. Do you have anything to add to that, Maya?
I agree with you.
Yeah. Let's see. In a virtual environment, some recruiters spend the 10-minute slot talking only about their company as opposed to giving the student the ability to talk. How can you handle this in order to make sure you leave an impression on the recruiter? They do that?
It happened to me at the virtual career fair. It was more like going to an info session than like an interview. And
Caroline
so,
said it happened to her too.
yeah, it was really sad because I got there and I was excited to talk, and then they were just like, let me tell you about all of this, and then next thing you know, the 10 minutes were up.
Gosh, I guess I find it shocking because for me, I'm trying to find out as much as I can about the candidate in 10 minutes. And then if I like them, then yeah, I'm trying to tell them as much about us to like sell it, to sell our company. It becomes like, oh, well, let me tell you how wonderful we are because you just told me. My recruiters, okay. I will say, Hannah, I did have some slides up to show because people did ask me about like what does it look like or what is that, and I did have things up to show pictures. I did, or they asked me about like women in the workforce and what our diversity numbers were, and I pulled over that slide. So I have done that. I have been
I think that's totally
guilty of
fine.
that. I didn't give a presentation, but I have used it to cheat to answer questions.
Also, here's a view that we get to see. When you guys sign up for those time slots, if we look at it ahead of time, we can see the resumes. And sometimes from the resumes, we can make some decisions about how much would you already know about our company, how much would you know about manufacturing in general, and should this be more of a let us share with you and get something from you, or you want to tell us about your work experience and school experience already. So sometimes we go into that time slot with some ideas already of what we want to have happen during the communication, which may be wrong sometimes. I'm guilty also of using the slides. They do help me kind of maintain the same type of communication with everybody. So that's on us as well. We are also learning how to do that better. Also, this may be more of a cultural trick, I guess. In some cultures, people are more interactive in their communication. Even by looking at this camera, I can be waving my arms. I can be like, yeah. Right now, I'm kind of doing extra of that to demonstrate that. In the interviews and in polite settings, we're taught to politely listen when somebody finishes. And right now, we kind of have the opportunity, I'm going to use the word opportunity, to, while listening, show enthusiasm and eagerness to communicate something back. So, like that.
Yeah.
Find your face in the mirror and use that hands, face, whatever you need to say that, to give a visual sign that you're ready to say something to.
Yeah. Well, and it could be something as simple, as trying to find, because hopefully these people at some point have to breathe, if that's what's happening. And it's sneaking in there while they're taking that momentary breath and saying, this is really exciting and interesting to me. I'm glad you shared this with me. I wanted to talk to you about my experience just so you could know how my experience might allow me to be successful in this environment. I think you've got to somehow sneak yourself in that way and segue it, because that's almost what you got to do, because I can't. And probably somebody's going to say, Brittany, you were the one who did it to me. But anyway.
I may have done it.
But I know that that's not the intent. So in that break, see if you can segue in. I would try to handle it in that way.
I'm typing in some of those verbiages you could use to plug in.
Oh, that's nice. Maya, giving cliff notes. Very good.
I'll think of some more and put them there, but yes. Oh, something I want to mention. Okay, so I think Elise mentioned the SWE resume book, and I think that is a great opportunity to communicate who you are to the employers that may be using this tool right now heavier than usually to look for candidates. So please, please, please do take advantage of this opportunity that you have.
There you go. Okay. I put in another one. I put another cheat sheet in.
Okay, it looks
Those are
like we
good
have.
questions.
Sorry, we have about 1 minute left, so if anyone has any last minute questions, go ahead. Also, if you want to like copy and paste those little cliff notes that they put in there, feel free to do that. I don't think recording the video will like save this part, so yeah. But yeah. Thank you so much, Brittany and Maya. This was such a helpful presentation.
If I could mention one thing, to the right of the chat box, the 3 dots let you download the chat if you don't want to have to copy paste things.
I will download it